just to
Hey
listen.
Kev, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
You see how nice I am to you.
Right. You're being nice to me. You don't have
Right.
a choice, right?
So we are in our office. Thank you so much for coming with me today. But I would say that coming here is one of the most fun car rides. One of our many car rides together that I
Oh my
always...
God.
Right. Okay, well, you know, obviously we're friends for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm sure those are good times.
Oh my
flooding
God.
your memory right now.
Super long, yeah?
Very timely because it's Women's Month. I kind of approach it as you and I always talk about anything anyway. And then I thought in many of our conversations or in many of our Friday afternoons with a margarita on hand, sometimes we talk about topics that are really, I would say, like maybe interesting, or sometimes they're very true to how...
And relevant, I guess.
relevant to what is happening in our companies. You work in different companies now. And I just thought now, because March is Women's Month, this has been something that we had been, I remember that you're someone who's really an advocate for anybody. You're I have to say, the kinder between the two of us.
Thank you. I'm taking it as a compliment.
I'm only going to say it once, so you get that one
everybody
compliment.
needs to hear this.
So I just thought it would be interesting to exchange ideas with you today about empowerment of women, or empowering women in the corporate setup, in the corporate world. So, but before we get to that part, why don't you say something about yourself first? Because obviously I know you too well, but why don't you tell everyone what you do and
Okay.
who you are.
So, I'm Kavita, as you know. I've been in the Philippines now for almost 14 years. So it's like home.
14 years. Yeah. So
Almost-
we're gonna test your Tagalog later.
Oh my God. Edit that bit. Yeah, so it's like home for us here. And so currently I'm working as a global head for talent acquisition and people operations for UnifyCX, which is, again, very aptly, as you said, it's a women-led organization.
Yeah,
Majority
remember.
of our leaders are women, right? So definitely it becomes one of your, decision-making point as well, right? Because if the company encourages women, feels that everybody needs to be given a chance, needs to be given an equal opportunity, that's the kind of culture environment you want to work with. So I think it's been great.
I was thinking, obviously there's always some podcast, there's always some article about women. I never thought that you and I are going to be talking about it outside of Friday afternoon, right?
Yeah.
But also I think because you and I are in organizations where we see it, we also see it when organizations misuse it, misinterpret it. I think what I've come to realize is that we actually have to talk about it. We have to, so that people are aware that not just you're an ally, not just you're an enabler, but because you have to have your opinion is going to be heard by people that we don't know relies on us to talk about these things.
Yes, absolutely. I just feel that for myself, I feel fortunate where I am today from where I started in the Philippines when I was new, right? So somewhere somebody helped you out at that point. Somebody's words, somebody's encouragement really helped you and brought you where you are today, right? So it's always good for us to pay it forward. And I think that's the way to go today. So this conversation, I hope, helps people to understand that each one of us have the ability to be wherever we want to be.
So I think the first thing that we want to talk about today is, what does it even look like now when we say women empowerment in the workplace? What does that look like now, either for you in your organization or for you in your own observation? How does that look like now?
I think the fact that today me or any woman in the organization has a seat on the table, has a voice in the room, itself means that somewhere people are waking up to the fact that we can contribute, right? I guess if before that wasn't the case because the room used to be full of men, right? And they would make those decisions, would discuss, would have policies, would have all sorts of goals based from their lens, right? So they never had another perspective there because there was nobody sitting there to guide them, to give them that direction, to say, hey, you know what, we can look at this maybe another way. But having that mix, right, in that room where people are looking at organizational decisions, development, that is helping, and you can see that difference in the way the culture is today the way the policies are coming up and they're shaping up, and hence that is where they're encouraging more women to come up now.
For me, I think how I appreciate today, I always try to understand how it was before. And I think because now we are in a digital world, it goes with what you said, that now we have more seat on the table. We have a voice, we're participating, we're engaged, we're now in more leadership positions. But for us to really appreciate that now, I look back into how it was before, and it's, the jobs before demand you to physically go from point A to point B. And I'm not talking about travel just for, like your daily commute. I'm talking about for you to make a sale, you have to meet the person from, maybe Makati, but the person is based in Davao, Philippines. So you have to physically go to Davao to close a deal. And along with that, maybe some people from the past, they think that, well, if it's a woman doing that job, you have your family at home, so they would always prefer that, okay, maybe the guy will go or man will go.
Yeah.
But because the situation is different now with remote work and the digital age, the location where you work and the person you're talking to almost doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because you can do virtual meetups, you can talk online, you can seal that deal online. So that's why I think now we're actually in a situation where we should be, because we are now enabled to be able to do more of those things.
I think that's a good point, because I feel one is probably the negative aspect of it, saying, oh, people don't want women to do it. But I've seen the other part of it is that men, so to say, or the employees in the organization also feel, oh, because they're being protective of the women also. As you said, if the woman has to go from Makati to Davao, it's not always about, oh, she can do it. I'm sure she can do it. But there's a protective element to say, okay, let the guy go there because, he has to travel, has to go wherever, it's maybe an unknown place. So I think that's two factors to it. From a woman's side, one is that the pressure that she feels that I don't know if I should go because I have a child who'll look after.
Yeah.
But now with all the whole ecosystem is changing, right? Like as you said, with technology, with definitely more trust in the ability of the woman to be able to do the job, whatever a man can do. I think that shift in mindset has also helped us a lot, right? From both sides.
That's true.
So yeah, good point.
I think we have some common leaders we work with who were really...
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we have the same name right now.
Yeah.
She's in Iloilo right now. We're gonna probably meet her another time.
Yeah.
But I remember that we have common women leaders who paved the way for us, and therefore made us realize na, oh, it's possible. And therefore, we learned from them. We learned from the good things they did. We learned from the not so good things that they did, the mistakes that they made. Our friend always tells us it's up to you to take the next, the next set of, the next generation, the next leaders, and then pay it forward. And I know that we're thinking about the same person.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess, I think what has also, at least for me in my life, the shift has been when I came to the Philippines, right? And definitely the environment has changed. The shift has happened across the world, right? But for me, coming from India, where I'm born and brought up, to coming, then moving to Australia for a bit, where again, I had a woman leader, right? And again, she also helped me, to move further in my career. But coming to the Philippines was like a major shift for me, where I really, really was able to see strong women at play, right? And again, we have common women from our past organizations who have always stood their ground,
so many of them,
no matter what, right? And that again shows you that, yes, I mean, this is the way to go, right? And not because we are women, but because that's an equal opportunity you're giving to your employees to say, you can do it, right? And it has nothing to do with just because you're a woman.
How do you think women are kind of changing? Because if we're more present now, then what do you think are the dynamics that has changed? Because we are more present now, we're more engaged.
Again, I'm going back to my point to say that the ecosystem is changing, right? For example, with flexibility of work, right? You being able to choose your schedule, which means that you're present. So earlier you had to choose between your personal life and you had to choose between your work life. But the way the environment is today, you're able to do both. And you're able to do both successfully because you are present in the life of your family. At the same time, you're present at work as well because of the support, because you know that somebody, the back of your head, trusts you, that you're doing your job. So the idea is to get the job done. The idea is to get whatever your tasks are, whatever your goals are to be done, right? And when that trust comes in to say, hey, I don't care, I just want that done, and I leave it to you because I've brought you here, I've hired you here to do a job, that just builds that confidence into say, yeah, actually, yes, so whether I do 12 hours, whether I do 4 hours and what time I do, ensuring that I'm doing it to the best of my abilities and I'm ensuring that commitments are in place. I guess that's a big sea change that was never available before.
Right.
So,
for me, I guess working in an environment or being in an environment where I know there are fellow women instead of, it's all men, and it's not just limited to men. It's actually, people who are driven by ego and whatever. And I'm not saying women don't have ego. We can talk about that another day. But for me, the impact for me is I feel safer. Like I feel like I can belong here because there's so many of them that have gone before us.
Yeah.
Especially for me because I'm younger than you.
All right, you have to bring that up, right?
You have gone before me.
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier we also were talking about remote work. So I guess the next thing that I want us to talk about is how has that been a game changer? How have you seen it become a game changer for people like us, for women like us?
I think what was probably lacking or what wasn't there enough was more women in workforce. So women start with college education, come into workforce, and somewhere along the line, with marriage, with children, whatever else their personal thing
I have
is,
none of those.
they somewhere lose track. I mean, for whatever reasons. But with the remote work, flexible work, right, hybrid work, you're able to bring that talent back, which was probably there, but they didn't have any way to contribute to the economic situation of their personal life, to the organization, to the country overall, right? I think all that has changed so much because now those same set of workforce, specifically women workforce, can now see this path where they can realize their dreams and can also contribute. I guess that has really been a game changer, I feel. And in the years to come, that's going to, I'm really excited and curious to see what else this set of society can bring to the table.
Right, and I think obviously we're both in talent acquisition, and I'm sure we meet people, new hires or employees. But for me, fairly recently, a couple of new hires who are moms, they specifically were looking for remote work. And every time I ask them why, because of course every person would have a different story, reason, a different reason. But for them, it's always about, because I want to be with my kid more.
Yeah.
Like, she was thinking okay, maybe instead of me traveling and all the traffic that, Manila is infamous for, I would rather just use that time to be with my kids. And I thought that was something very, very beautiful and very, very pure. And that is what the remote work has enabled women to do. Obviously, you know me, I only have a dog, but I do feel a lot because I have a sister who has a kid. She does hybrid work, and I super enjoy when they have to call me to be with Vigo. But what more if it's pure on-site, diba? It's going to be really difficult. So I thought that was for me. This is it. This should be the future of work. The future of work is remote. Because now this is question and answer portion. What we did is we collected a couple of questions from some of our leaders in the organization, women leaders also in the organization. But before that, I bought this online a couple of months ago.
Another one of
you know how I like to
online,
randomly put games whenever we meet.
Some kind of cards.
So I actually haven't seen the questions in this deck. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna select maybe a couple of cards. I'm gonna do the same. When you pick a card, that's the question you're gonna ask me, and I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, actually. Maybe just pick a card, and maybe if you want to answer it and you want to throw the question to me, that's also fine. So you're my guest, so why don't you start?
God. Okay.
If the question is not something you can safely answer, feel free to just get another one.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice you have received from a friend?
What is the best piece of advice you've received from me? Is how you're gonna answer.
Oh my God! Really? Look at her. Okay. I guess I've been blessed with having a small circle of friends.
Meaning you and me.
But the
right
right kind of people, and right. And I guess the best piece of advice I've always got is believe in yourself. Encouraging, let's say for example, you and me are part of the same field, right? We're into talent acquisition in HR. But I guess the best part about us is that there's no competition, there's no jealousy. The good part is we're always...
Maybe you just don't know.
Maybe, right? But then you're hiding it well, right? But about, patting each other's back. When you feel low and when you're going through tough times, you always say, oh, no, this will be fine, right? So I guess the best piece of advice I've always got is to believe in myself when I'm like super low and going through my own moments and thinking I'm not doing a good job. And it's not to do with work. It's to do with, in general, women probably are born with guilt. But I think...
What? Guilt?
Sometimes, right? You're always guilty. Oh, you didn't do this right. I don't know if I'm doing this right, if I'm making sense of what I'm doing. I guess having that somebody who's always advocating for you in front of you and behind your back as well. I think that's the best feeling.
Well, you're gonna get your third compliment of the day, because for me, you're always that person. You're always the one telling me I can do it. And sometimes you hear it from random people and it's not, it doesn't have as much weight.
Yeah.
But whenever it's with the people you really trust, then all of a sudden a simple thing like that changes everything. So what we did is, in my company now, in Penbrothers, we obviously have women leaders also. And what we ask them are questions that they want to ask you and I.
Okay.
And we're going to do our best to answer them, but with a twist, because this is the age of AI. I am going to take out my phone. This is not a competition of who answers the best.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's not a competition. No, I'm kidding. But I just thought it's interesting if we're going to answer the same question and we're going to see the different responses from 3, apparently, 1 AI mind and 2 human minds.
Oh, okay. I hope I can answer them. Yeah. Sure.
So let's see what the first question is.
Okay. The first one is for Kavita. What are the key challenges women face when advancing in leadership, and how can they overcome them?
I think one of the biggest challenges, the bias, becomes like a base for everything else. So if there is a role, the challenge will always be that, if there's a decision that's made or something, if there's a failure, anything, because she's a woman, she doesn't understand it, right? So I think those stereotyped profiling that we do for women, I think that becomes quite a big challenge.
So you talk about bias. For me, my one word to answer that is emotions, right? Like, people always think that if it's a woman in a leadership position, she can't handle the pressure of that because she's always going to be emotional. You and I are not emotional. But also what's true is anyone can be emotional. It's not really strictly about gender. Like, I've seen men really emotional about their jobs.
Absolutely.
What are the key challenges women face when advancing in leadership positions, and how can women overcome those?
Wow, I can't believe it.
Okay, so there are a few big things holding women back from leadership positions. First, there's still a lot of unconscious bias out there. People might have stereotypes about women in leadership, or they could unconsciously favor men for those roles. Second, women often have less access to professional networks and mentors than men do, making it harder to get noticed for those top jobs. And third, it's still tougher for women to balance work and family responsibilities. This can make it harder to put in the extra hours or travel that leadership roles sometimes demand. But here's the thing, women can absolutely overcome these challenges. Organizations are getting better at recognizing bias, and there are programs to help women build those professional networks.
You didn't feed her into all this, right?
Companies are offering flexible work.
AI knows the answer. You guys have to listen to that. It's a very good response from the AI.
I think it was really eye-opener for me to say how people think. Their mindset is, again, going back to that stereotype, the biases that we have, and all this thing that we have to navigate. But I'm so happy today that things are evolving, right? People are open to what we contribute and what we bring to the table without thinking family and children and parents as a baggage that we carry, right? It's part of our personality, and that makes us who we are today.
You can have it all, just like everybody else has.
Yes.
It's just a matter of strategically maybe timing it. And don't feel bad if you feel like you're choosing family or personal passion over a career. I think more and more now, our definition of success has matured into.
Oh, yes.
For me, it's about my definition of success is how happy I am with my life, how satisfied and peaceful I am with who I've become. So for me, my final advice would be for future women leaders is you should go for whatever you want, and don't feel bad about yourself if you go in a certain direction compared to what society might be asking you to do or go.
And if you fail, that's okay. That's part of life. You get up and do it again. And I guess that is what life has taught me. I've started 3 times in my life from the beginning, from a scratch.
And you moved in different locations.
Because I moved
also.
to different geos, different countries, and I had to start from a scratch. But because I had my goal set, I needed to be where I want to be. And that didn't stop me. And it's okay if you want to start from a scratch. It's okay, if you don't succeed at first, because you will eventually. If you have the right skills, you have the right goals, you will. But yes, mentorship, sponsorship obviously helps to guide you through, and I'm again very grateful to my women leader in my life personally as well as professionally, who've given you the right path, and I would want to pay it forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kavita.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. It's your pleasure to have me. It's your
Obviously.
pleasure to have me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.